Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real life example of this? I knew a guy who had a low-level data/reporting job. He had several daily/weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload, so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay, but damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it, he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload on top of maintaining those macros/etc. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing, and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours/week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there, all while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. I'm doing it right now. Automated data cleaning in Python. My coworkers don't know about it, so something that takes me 10 minutes at most takes them 2 hours. Edit. For everyone who says I should share my code, I even set up a private GitHub space for my team. Some have taken it up, but others, including management, do not like it. I think they feel a little threatened. I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive, we'd open them, and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts, and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. Saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff and staff at other sites. Years ago as a student I got a job stocking shelves. Guys were carrying the heavy boxes, put them on the floor and bend each time to pick up the items to put on the shelves. I was maybe a light 100 pounds woman, and carrying the boxes was just killing me physically. So one day I had an idea. I put the box on a rolled desk chair and rolled it around. No more carrying and no more bending. Funny thing is that, instead of doing the same thing, most of the guys called me lazy and kept carrying the heavy boxes, just to prove how strong they were. Now they have special rolling carts to do the job. Every year in the Canadian winter, power lines would fail due to the weight of the snow. It took many days to build up enough to break a line, so they employed a team to walk the routes and shake the poles to loosen the snow. One day they saw a bear shaking the poles and realized that if they could get the bear to do it, they wouldn't need to walk the route. So they gave one guy a bucket of honey and he'd walk the route painting the sides of the poles with honey to attract the bears. It worked for a few more years, but this still takes a lot of time to do. So then they had the idea of flying a helicopter along the route with a trained sniper with honey paintballs that he'd shoot the poles with. On its maiden flight the helicopter passed the lines and the downdraft blew away all of the snow. The flights continue to this day, but without the sniper. Typus and grammar fixed by u/bra Thirdbird. I was invited to my friend's yearly apple picking. It was a full day of apples and kids, and filling a truck. Force the idea. I'm lazy and suggested we make the process more efficient with tarps on the ground. We managed in 2 hours what historically took all day. We didn't even get to the picnic lunch. Essentially, I ruined apple picking. My ex-boss gave me an Excel sheet. 124,000 rows Excel sheet. Had all the company customer data per row, twice. In some of those duplicates there was an error. She needed me to go over the list one row by row, to check for mistakes and mark all the faulty entries I could find. Through 124,000 rows. She wanted me to do that using the arrow down key in my mouse. I thanked her. I sat down, invested half an hour into Google, copy pasted some parts of this formula, then some parts of that. Finally I had figured out the formula. I double clicked the tiny rectangle so that the formula gets applied on all rows. Worked like a charm. I stood up, got myself a coffee, talked to some colleagues. Then I went to my boss. She had anticipated that I would need 3 days for this task. When I was back less than an hour later, she thought I hadn't understood the task or maybe a follow-up question. I will never forget the expression on her face when I told her I was done. There were 6 faulty entries. A year and a half later I enrolled into computer science at university, where I will finish my undergrad this summer. I work for a huge company. That said, as management are all about 40 plus, anyone who can use a computer for more than Word and writing a letter is deemed a computer geek. Official title. Usually data checking consists of having one Excel spreadsheet on one screen and on a second screen, which has only just become a thing. It's a good old Ctrl+F to find the linked data to check. Lookup has literally cut my workload down from a week's work to 10 minutes. I'm not telling them. Compliance and other managers on an equal footing to me all just think I'm very particular and make a low amount of errors. COVID lockdown has meant I'm working from home, and I'm literally doing a 1 to 2 day week. I don't know if this is a true story, but kind of fits your request. There was a manufacturing plant that made toothpaste. One year for some reason there ended up being an unusually high number of empty boxes being shipped out. So in order to stop that from happening, the head of the company hired a couple engineers to develop a system to catch any empty boxes so they didn't get shipped with the boxes that actually had the toothpaste tubes in them. The engineers developed a system that, if the box weighed below a certain amount, the system would stop and a worker would have to go remove the box and start everything up again. The person in charge loved the idea and implemented it immediately, and right from the get-go the number of empty boxes shipped dropped to near zero. The head of the company wanted to go see the system in action, so he goes and visits the plant one day and notices a huge fan right by the assembly line. Very confused as it wasn't hot, he asked the plant manager why the fan was there. The plant manager said the workers were tired of stopping what they were doing to remove an empty box, so they just hooked up a fan to blow the empty boxes off the scale before the system recognized it was empty and shut everything off. So laziness led to a more efficient and cost-effective plan. Back in high school, a lot of kids used to walk through his park to get home/to school. A portion of the path went into the woods because it was just quicker than walking the actual trail. At one point in the walk through the woods, you had to go up this small but tedious hill. Nothing major, but it took like 10 seconds of hard work to go up it. You couldn't go around because one side was a small cliff to the creek below and other side had dense trees. One summer, a bunch of us got together and decided to just dig through that hill to make it flat. It took like 14 of us 3 good days to get through it. It was a hard 3 days, but it was definitely worth it. Saved 10 seconds of hill climbing every morning and afternoon, 150 plus days of the year. And it wasn't just us, but hundreds of other kids who took the same party every day. Sometimes you need to put in a lot of work so your future selves can enjoy the easy way out. Me. I automate shit all the time at work to make daily routine jobs more easy. I write manuals with screenshots with arrows indicating where to click or where to fill in what. Whenever I write a manual, I assume that whoever reads it is a complete idiot, so that whenever customers call for the same questions again, I just send them to the online manual I created. No need to type it out again by email or explain it again by phone. One of my favorite stories from my youth was the tale of the man who was too lazy to fail. I got fed up with handwriting itemized suborders at work, so I set up a spreadsheet that you can just fill out. Then I got tired of having more than one program open and not being able to search within and among those order sheets, at least not automatically or easily, so I'm having our filmmaker guy integrate it into our greater ordering and invoicing system. I was frustrated at the pointlessness of sorting a giant pile of paper invoices from an unpaid stack to a paid stack every month, so I just used the accounting software to keep track. I became so irritated with having to fill out a multi-page, printed spreadsheet for every single order, sometimes just one item, 2 pages in, and frequently, there would be those pesky itemized suborders that I condensed the items into most used, put them all on one easy to read sheet, and encouraged my coworker to simply write out the more uncommon items at the bottom. Basically, I hate busy work, and paper invariably leads to busy work. I have tried to reduce the use of paper in our office, but have not been entirely successful. We have to have written order forms available because sometimes the orders are coming in too fast to be able to type it all quickly and correctly, and have to keep some paper records for things like organic, FDA, and ASTA audits. But all in all, I'd say my absolute hatred of filing has reduced busy work here by at least half. Well, I worked in a graphics design studio as an intern. They mostly had me practice and do some basic stuff their head designers was too busy to do. One was a real estate ad. It had a few basic templates, but it was all kinds of scatterbrained. I would spend 5 to 10 minutes trying to find the right layer for all the pictures and had to mess with way too much. So I made copies of the files and made one for each template. I labeled everything, made it so the images on top of each other wouldn't clip into the lower ones like the previous did, so on. You could be in and out of the template in 2 to 3 minutes. Showed my boss the difference, and he had this face of well shit. He said the next day that if I was a graduate he'd hire me because I was better than the people sending applications in. In short, I made an overly complicated / unorganized thing the opposite, and my boss was actually sad he couldn't hire me. When Carl Friedrich Gauss, the famous German mathematician and physicist, was in elementary school, around 1784, his class was assigned the busy work task of adding all the numbers from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. This usually kept the class quiet for half an hour or so. 7-year-old Cole was sitting quietly with the correct answer, 50-50, while the rest of the class was just starting. So the surprised teacher asked him how he came up with the solution. He replied that he added 1 and 100 and got 101. Then he added 2 and 99 and got 101. 3 plus 98 equals 101, and so on. He realized there was a pattern of 50 pairs of numbers with each pair adding up to 101. And 50x 101 equals 50-50. At work, I go through parts and apply 2 different kinds of tape and 2 different kinds of weave. I have finally got the rhythm down, and now I do each part individually and apply everything at once. Everyone else goes through an entire order, just applying tape, then goes through it again to do the weave. I asked to use the big table in the back of the shop and just put all the tape and weave tools there and do the parts all at once. Normal rate for an 8-hour shift is $1,200, but I can manage $1,800 in a day, going at a nice steady pace. Edit, I can get $1,800 going at a steady pace. I've done it before, but I usually don't. Most days I go slow and relax, purposely only making $1,300 to $1,350 or so parts. It's just enough overrate to get my incentive bonus. And, thanks to being a hard and fast worker, the uppers leave me alone at my big table in the back. They look the other way when I have an earbud in one ear, and they don't notice that I scroll Reddit or read a lot. Edit, I can't say what products we make. They are too recognizable, and googling it would reveal where I work and live. My girlfriend will kill me for this, but fuck it. I hate taking a finished toilet paper roll downstairs to throw it out. Me just leaving the empty roll in the bathroom annoys the crap out of my girlfriend, so I developed this strategy. When there was only a few sheets left, I'd start using sheets from a new roll and leave the old roll with sheets still on it. That way, she'd always be the one to finish the roll and have to take the empty one downstairs. Edit, for people asking why I don't just use the bathroom rubbish bin, we recycle our cardboard. I have a massive exercise to do at our year-end accountancy. My work previously got checked by another manager who spent over 3 weeks going over the data. Eventually she got shifted to another department, and that workload fell on me. Basically self-audit, and then present the data to the actual auditors. My previous manager was absolutely shit at Excel. I didn't let on, but I did all the audit on a separate file using simple, but out of the way, formulas. Not only did I reduce the task from 3 weeks to basically real-time checks, no time, but when I was told that I have to perform that exercise every month, my job became a doddle. I didn't let on that everything was automated by SUMIFs, indexing, maximum values and range checks. Living the dream. Sorry if I rambled on. When Peter the Great was building St. Petersburg, there was a huge boulder needed removing as it was in the way of a road. Lots of contractors tendered for the job. They would use explosives to start, smash it into smaller pieces using sledgehammers, and then cart them away. A local peasant also put in an offer for half the price. They gave him the job. He and a few friends dug a large hole next to it, took away the excess earth, tipped the boulder in, and covered it up with the remaining earth.